All right, everyone. Welcome back to the pod. Me, Rich and Todd here. Gonna spoil all the Battle for Baldur's Gate cards. We'll start with the white one and work our way down. Go ahead, Rich.
Okay, everyone. So first thing to start off with is going to be Ancient Gold Dragon. We've got 5 and 2 white. It's a creature, Elder Dragon. It has flying, so evasion. And its effect is whenever Ancient Golden Dragon deals combat damage to a player, you roll a d20. You create a number of 1/1 blue fairy dragon creature tokens with flying equal to the result. Alright, so he's a 7/10. He's got evasion, and he creates a potentially large number of blue fairy dragon creature tokens. I think that is a pretty decent card. It does cost a lot, but the effect and the body, I think, is pretty good. I'd say it's a good card.
All right, and second one, Battle Angels of Tyr. 2 generic and 2 white for Angel Knight. 4/4 flying myriad. Myriad being when you attack, it attacks every other opponent. Also, stapled onto it, whenever it attacks, dealing combat damage to a player, draw a card. If that player has more cards in hand than each other player, then you create a treasure token, which is very good in EDH, if that player controls more lands than each other player. Also, then you gain 3 life if that player has more life than each other player. So basically, this has a lot of stuff onto it. This is very good, especially if you're doing Tribal Angel. This is a must include. 4/4 for flying with Myriad. That's pretty good by itself. And then you have this all stapled onto it. Yeah, this is a great card.
Alright, so next we're looking at Legion Loyalty. It's 6 and 2 white. It's an enchantment. And again, creatures you control have myriad. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure that I'm a fan of this one. It's a large cost for myriad, which is a good effect, but I feel it's kind of outshadowed by something like Battle Angels of Tyr. However, it does give each of your creatures loyalty, or myriad, I'm sorry. But I'd say it's an okay card.
Okay, Sculpted Sunburst is next. 3 generic, 2 white for a sorcery. Choose a creature you control, then each opponent chooses a creature they control with equal or lesser power. If you choose a creature this way, exile each creature not chosen by any player this way. Yeah, this is a little wordy for me. I'm not sure how I feel about this. We'll see. Moving on.
Okay, so Windshaper Plaintar. It's a creature angel. It's 4/1 white, flash flying. When Windshaper enters the battlefield during the declare attackers step, for each attacking creature, you may reselect which player or planeswalker that creature is attacking. Alright, it's got evasion, again, angel, seems like we have a lot of angels in this one. It's a 4/4. I'd say it'd be okay with Angel Tribal, but I don't know where else I would put it, to be honest with that.
All right. Horn of Valhalla. It's 1 and a white artifact equipment. So it's an adventure card. So first half of it is Yagnard's Call, X and 2 white for a sorcery. Create X amount of white soldier tokens. Okay, that's pretty good. And then once you do that, you could also play it back since it's an adventure for the equipment. And the equipment says equipped creature gets 1/1 for each creature you control, which is especially is high synergy for the first half. So if you have a lot of mana, this could be pretty good. But if you don't have a lot of mana, it might be outclassed. Plus, it is equip 3. It could be good. You make a lot of soldiers, and then that one soldier gets +1 for each every soldier. If you're doing tokens, this is great. You could just play it as an equipment. Yeah, I'd say this is a good card.
Okay, so next is Ascend from Avernus. Um, it's an X 3 white sorcery. You return all creatures and planeswalker cards with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then you exile this card. I think that's pretty damn good, actually. You spend 4, 5 mana on the X, and you bring back every creature or planeswalker with 5 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's pretty amazing. Next.
And on to Arcanvist of Ogama. It's a one in a white for a halfling cleric, 2/2 flash. Whenever an opponent searches their library, gain 1 draw card. So this could be good. It's similar to Aven Mind Sensor. For only 2 mana, I like it.
Lazelle's Acrobatics. It's a 3/1 white. It's an instant with multiple effects depending on what you roll with the d20. So all non-token creatures you control are exiled, then you roll a d20. 1 to 9, you return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. 10 to 20, return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control, then exile them again. Return those cards to the battlefield under their owner during the beginning of the next end step. So you got evasion there. You got enter the battlefield, leave the battlefield effects. It's pretty decent.
Next is Noble Heritage, 1 in white for a legendary enchantment and a background, so that's a new card type. And it says commander creatures you own have, and in quotes, when this creature enters the battlefield at the beginning of your upkeep, each player may put 2 1/1 counters on a creature they control. For each opponent who does, you gain protection from that player until end of turn. So this one's a little weird. You are giving them 2 1/1s, but then you also gain protection from them. For only 2, this is a decent fog effect. I wouldn't mind if it was just that, a fog effect, but, in white, you don't have many fog effects in white, so it's okay.
Onto Lazelle, another version of her. Vlaakith Champion. It's a 2 and 1 white. It's a legendary creature, Gith Warrior. If you would put 1 or more counters on a creature or planeswalker you control or on yourself, put that many plus 1 of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. And then you get to choose a background. Again, you get to choose a background as your second commander, such as the one that we just spoke about. This is not too bad of a card. It does increase the amount of counters on your turn. So, pretty good card.
Next one's Cut a Deal. It's 2 generic and 1 white for a sorcery. Each opponent draws a card, then you draw a card for each opponent who drew a card. This is decent for 3. There are better options in EDH specifically. 1-on-1, this is terrible, right? But, white card draw, why not?
Okay, so next is 2 and 1 white, Stoneskin. It's an aura, flash, enchant creature, and that creature gets +0/+10. Okay, I don't know if I would just prefer it to have +10, but I guess that's also the hammer that gives +10. So for the cost, you do get a big body for defending, so I guess it's a good card.
I would like to say that this is extremely good in Arcades. That makes all your defense, all your toughness into power. So when you go to attack, you could put this on very cheaply for only 3. Your 0/10 now becomes a 17 power creature because your wall was a 0/7 for only 3 mana. In any other circumstance, this would be bad, but our Katie specifically, this is very good actually. On to Banishment. Banishment's 3 generic and 1 white for an enchantment. Flash, you can put it in any time. When Banishment enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls and all other non-land permanents your opponent controls with the same name as a permanent until Banishment leaves the battlefield. So really, 4 mana for a catch-all non-land permanent, and the benefit is if it's a token, and specifically, it banishes all the tokens. Yeah, this is nice against a token meta.
Okay, so Underseller Sweep, it's a 4 and 1 white. Enchantment, when this card enters the battlefield, you take the initiative. Whenever you attack, if a player you're attacking has the initiative, you create a 2/1/1 white creature soldier token that are tapped and attacking. I'm not too sure I'm a fan of it. Think it's kind of situational in a way, but I haven't really messed with initiative, so I can't really give a good opinion on that.
Okay, on to Slaughter the Strong. 1 generic and 2 white for a sorcery. Each player chooses any number of creatures they control with total power 4 or less, then sacrifices all other creatures they control. This is okay if not for the fact that they choose any number of creatures. You never want your opponent to have an option when it comes to removal. I'm going to say this is decent at best. Maybe in standard, but definitely not for any other format.
Okay, so next we got Hammers of Moradin. It's a 2/1 white. Kind of like the artwork, actually, if just ignoring everything else. So it's a Dwarf Cleric with Myriad, and whenever this creature attacks, for each opponent, tap up to 1 target creature that players control. It's a 3/3 for 3 with Myriad, and it has evasion in a way. You know, if he can tap out one of your opponent's creatures. If they only got 1, then he gets to just hit them. So I think it's a good card.
On to Contraband Livestock. 2, 1 generic and 1 white for an instant. Exile target creature, then roll a d20. Well, that's already good, unless the d20 is a negative effect. 1 through 9, its controller creates a 4/4 green ox. Okay. 10 through 19, its controller creates a 2/2 green boar. Okay, that's a little bit better. You exile a creature, they only get a 2/2. All right. And then if you nat 20, its controller only gets a 0/1 white. Yeah, again, this is one of those cards in standard. This is good, and in every other format, this is bad. But, chances are it's probably a 2/2 and you got rid of a Termagoi for something very good. This is okay.
Yeah. I would agree. I definitely agree that this would be good in standard, especially because it's a 2 mana removal. They do get a creature back, but you're getting rid of something that's problematic, so I think it's a good one. Anyways, moving on. Gith Zurai Monk. It's a 4 and 1 white Gith Monk creature with flash flying, psychic defense. I think that's new. When this creature enters the battlefield, tap all creatures you don't control. I think that's a pretty decent defensive card if you've got the mana at least. Yeah, kind of. I wish it would be at least 1 mana lower, but I think it's an okay card.
To Rescuer.
Chewinga.
Chewinga what? It's 1 mana and 1 white creature for an elemental spirit. It's a 2/2 flash. It also has natural shelter. When Rescuer Chewinga enters the battlefield, you may return another permanent you control to its owner's hand. For 2 mana, you may return another permanent you control to its owner's hand. I think that's pretty good, actually. Yeah, it's only a 2/2, but hey, I mean, I think it puts in work.
It's got instant speed.
Mhm.
Beckoning Will-O-Wisp. It's a 2 and 1 white creature spirit. That's a flying with 1/3. Lure the unwary. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose an opponent. Creatures attacking the last chosen player gets +1/+0. For the cost, I think it's a okay card. And if you're doing this in Commander, I think that it's not really as good. I think this is definitely good in Standard. I don't know how well it would fare in the other formats.
To Crystal Dragon, it's 4 mana and 2 white. It's also an adventure, so the adventure is 1 mana and 1 white, called Rob the Horde, and it's a sorcery. It says return target artifact, enchantment, or legendary card from your graveyard to your hand. That could be pretty good for recursion. White likes recursion. Also, and then once you use it, you could pay it for its normal cost of 4 and 2 white for a dragon. It's a 4/4 flying vigilance. Pretty par for the course. I think you're just paying it for the adventure, and then the upside is you could have a pay for it for its dragon cost. This is okay.
Rasad and Bashir. It's a 2 and 1 white legendary creature human monk, 0/3. Each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Okay, so yeah, this goes back to what you were just talking about. So with that other card, this is a 13.
Exactly.
Whenever Rasadin Bashir attacks, if you have the initiative, double the toughness of each creature you control until the end of the turn, and choose a background.
You could also have it as a background.
Yeah.
Well, you could choose a background for it.
Which, honestly, this thing can kill your opponent just by itself.
If you make this your EDH commander, you're very close to 21ing them just out of nowhere. This is a must include for Arcades as well. The next one, Far Traveler. It's 2 and a white for a legendary enchantment, also a background. So you could pair this with Bashar as well. Commander creatures you own have, at the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target tap creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So it's a blink effect. So this is really nice if you have anything that could use a background with a ETB, and then you could use Far Traveler's ability to blink it every turn.
Abdel Adrian, Gurian's Word. It's a 4, 1 white, legendary creature, human warrior. 4/4. When this creature enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-land permanents you control until this creature leaves the battlefield. Create a 1/1 white creature token for each permanent exiled this way, and then you can choose a background. I don't really like the cost for this one. I'm gonna probably say this is kind of bad.
What about in Standard?
In Standard, it's probably okay, yeah. Especially when you get to just reiterate some of the other cards over and over again.
All right, and to Alien Hairbreeze, Busybody. It's a 3 for a white, 3 and a white for a legendary creature, human peasant. It's a 2/4. It has a tap ability. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of tokens you created this turn. Put one of those cards into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. This is good for scrying. It's not really good for EDH. There's other things that you can manipulate the top card of your library. I don't really even care for it in Standard unless there's some kind of human or peasant tribal going on. I'm gonna say this is a bad card.
Okay, so next we got Lulu, Loyal Holophant. 3 and 1 white, legendary creature, Elephant Angel. Okay. It's a 3/2 flying. for the cost with flying. I think there's probably better things, except for in standard, it might be okay. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, put a 1/1 counter for each tapped creature you control, then untap them. Seems like we got a bit of a recurring theme here with these white cards. I'd say it's an okay card.
This is going to be someone's commander. You already know. You could pair it with Far Traveler up here, that's 2 in the 1, and you could literally, since it has choose a background, you could have Far Traveler blink the Holophant every turn, and at the beginning of your end step, if you controlled left the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on it. You see how that works, right?
Yep.
Veteran Soldier, it's a 1 in a white for a legendary enchantment, all-star background. So you could use this for your other commanders and whatnot. Commander creatures you own have, whenever this creature attacks a player, if no opponent has more life than that player, for each opponent, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token that's tapped and attacking. I'd say that's pretty good, actually. I mean, it's not the greatest, but for only 2, and it's... The only thing is it's in the background. But, for only 2, yeah, I can't complain.
Inspiring Leader, another background legendary. Commander creatures you own have creature tokens you control get +2/+2. Okay, I mean, we have a pretty reoccurring thing here with summoning out creature tokens. So, yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good card for the cost.
Next we got Blessed Hippogriff. It's 3 in 1. It's an adventure as well. Tyr's Blessing, 1 white. It's an instant. Target creature gains indestructible until end of turn. Okay, so you could put this on your commander if you need to. Any board wipes, anything like that. Well, sorry, maybe not board wipes, but anything used for blocking, what have you. Then you could cast the Hippogriff for 4, and it is a 2/3 flyer. Whenever it attacks, target attacking creature without flying gains flying until end of turn.
Flaming Fist Officer. It's a 2/1 white gnome soldier, 2/2. When another creature you control leaves the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Flaming Fist Officer. Alright, this could be pretty good with the amount of blink effects that are in white for this. I'd say it's pretty decent.
Alright, Goliath Paladin. It's 4 and a white for a giant knight. It's a 3/6 vigilance as well. When Goliath Paladin enters the battlefield, you take the initiative. It's already solid. And then for 5, 3/6 vigilance is solid in standard. Maybe not for most other formats, kind of slow. But then you have the bonus of taking initiative as well. This could see some standard play and not too much else.
Okay, so we got Guiding Bolt. A little tip here. This is actually a really good spell in D&D. So it's a 2 and 1 white instant. Destroy target creature with power 4 or greater, and then you scry 2. Pretty good spot removal for something big that's on the field. In standard, I think it's okay. In the rest of the formats, again, I think it's pretty decent.
I think this is like the fairest white removal I've ever seen. It's just like 2 and a white for an instant, yes, and then destroy creature with power 4. I wish it was 2, but then you scry 2. I think that's fair. Yeah, this is a fair card.
That's kind of what I meant with this, because white has so much removal that compared to a lot of the rest, especially outside of standard, it's pretty subpar, but you do get the scry, which is why I said it's pretty decent.
Yeah. Next up is Martial Impetus. It's 2 and a white for an enchantment aura. You enchant a creature, and that creature gets 1/1, and it's goaded. And goaded says it attacks each combat if available, and it attacks a player other than you if able. Whenever enchanted creature attacks, each other creature that's attacking one of your opponents gets 1/1 until end of turn. Yeah, that could be kind of tricky. You could put it on yours. You could put it on someone else's. Um, for 3 mana though, I think I'll pass.
Minimus Containment. It's a 2/1 aura. Enchant non-land permanent. The enchanted creature is a treasure artifact with sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color. I'm actually not too big a fan of this. I don't like it.
You know what this is good though is you can enchant someone's commander with it.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Right, so it's kind of like what is that blue card? Something in the moon, Imprison in the Moon.
Right. Yeah.
Right, you're not really using it for what it's for. You using it on a commander so that you get the commander out the way. But again, that's for EDH. In standard, yeah, I'll pass. Recruitment Drive is a 2 and 1 white for a sorcery. You roll a d20, 1 through 9 creates 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. 10 through 19 creates 2 2/2 white knight creature tokens. And then a nat 20 creates 3 2/2 1 knight creature tokens. So this is similar to Raise the Alarm in that sense. At the bare minimum, you get a 3 mana for 2 whites. This could be okay, especially in token creators where you could double the amount of tokens. I would put this in a EDH token deck, not much else.
Alright, so we got Scouting Hawk. It's a 2/1 white, flying bird 1/1. It's got Keen Sight. When this card enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you search your library for a basic plains card, put it in the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. So it's a body and a land for 2/1 white. I think that's pretty good.
To Steedfast Unicorn, for only 1, you get a 1/2, so it's above cost. And then it has an effect, an activated ability. You can pay 3 and a white for at any time, and then once you pay that, creatures you control gain 1/1 and gain vigilance until end of turn, and you can only activate this during your turn. So you can't use it for anything defensively, but you can, if you have the mana to, in the later game, use this as well. And I do value that when I draw this later on, even in standard, my 1/1s, my 1-drops, that I could actually get something out of it later on.
Yeah, I would also like to say that it could technically be used defensively. You can still attack and then stand up your creatures again for vigilance to defend during your opponent's turn. So it is kind of defensive. And for 1 to bring it out and then you got a body anyways, it's not bad. So Worms Crossing Patrol. It's 1 white. Creature Human Soldier 1/1 with Myriad. For 1 white, that's not bad. So with Myriad, just the body on the field. There you go. Good card.
This is good for if you should put artifacts or something to boost him. For 1 white, you get him out early, and he can... It's going to be kind of a pain to use a removal on a 1/1 for 1, right? And do you really want to counter a 1/1 for 1? Feels bad, but you kind of have to, because you know he's just going to get bigger later on. Next one, you're confronted by robbers. It's 3 and a white for an instant. So you could choose one of these effects. First one is Stall for Time, where you tap 3 creatures. Or you could choose Call for Aid and create 3 1/1 white creature tokens. Well, this is interesting, but I would argue, why wouldn't you always create 3 1s? Because then you could just use them for blocking. And if you should tap 3 target creatures, you are stalling, but I would always prefer having more creatures as opposed to just stalling the game out.
Alright, so your temple is under attack. It's a 2 and 1 white. Gotta say, I like the artwork. It's an instant. Your prey for protection. Creature you control gain indestructible till the end of the turn. Strike a deal. You and target opponent each draw 2 cards. For what it's worth, I think for 3 total mana, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's choose one, so it's either or. So either creatures you control gain indestructible, or you and target opponent each draw 2 cards. Which I actually think about it, in EDH, this is actually super solid, because you can make a deal with someone and you both draw 2 cards and the other 2 people don't.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have a rapport with that person. And for 3 mana, you get to draw 2. You gain favor for that other guy. This is great in EDH.
You also can protect your commander.
You could also protect your commander for 3, a little high, but it is your commander.
Mm-hmm.
Tabaxi Tuscaneers, 4 and a white. It's a cat ranger. Toucaneers. It's a cat ranger that's a 3/2 flying. That also has myriad. This is just a solid card. I wish it was 3 and a white, but I get it. Because you could also just put an equipment or something on this and make it pretty big easily. It's good.
Guardian Naga, it's a 5/2 white. It's a 5/6. It's an adventure. 2 and 1 white, instant. Exile target artifact or enchantment. I feel there's already pretty decent removal for that cost for targeting artifact or enchantments. Then it has vigilance, and as long as it's your turn, prevent all damage that would be dealt to Guardian Naga. I think that's pretty decent, because even if they chump block you, they can't get rid of it.
Yeah, my only gripe with this is the adventure. Cost. Yeah, the cost is 2 and a white is a little high, but it does exile artifact or enchantment. I wish that was 1 and a white. And then instead of a Naga, why couldn't it be Snake? Because Snake Tribal is so much easier to fit into. 7 for 5/6 vigilance with that effect. This is decent. If it was 4 or 3, yeah, I could see it. But, the thing worth to remember is that even though both halves aren't quite as good as having 1 card, you do have 2 effects on 1 card.
Yeah.
On to Pegasus Guardian. It's 5 and 1 white. It's also an adventure, and the adventure is Rescue the Foil. It's 1 in a white, instant adventure, and it says exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield. So it's a blink. So basically this is a blink. So 2 mana instant blink, I think that's pretty reasonable. And then the upside is you could play the Pegasus later on. And the Pegasus is a 3/3 flyer at the beginning of your end step. If a permanent left your control, left the battlefield this turn, create a 1/1 white creature token with flying. Yeah, that's pretty bad. But hey, at least the upside is you get a body later on. You're really just playing this for the adventure.
So next is Icewind Stalwart. It's a 3/1 white tiefling warrior with 3/3. It's got protection fighting style. When this creature enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target non-warrior creature you control, then return to the battlefield under its owner's control. I feel there's better blinks in this deck, but it is a body, so I think it's a good card.
The next one is an equipment, Great Sword of Tyr. It's 1 in a white, and it says whenever equipped creature attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it, and tap up to 1 targeted creature defending player controls. And it's only 1 white to equipped. I think this is actually pretty fine. For 2, and then you get to tap a defending creature, and it's only 1 white to equip. I think this is not the greatest, but it's decent.
Alright, so we got 2/1 white, background, Flaming Fist. Commanders you control have, whenever this creature attacks, it gains double strike until the end of the turn. I think this is pretty good when you include the abilities we were talking about before to change toughness over and double the amount of attack something has. I think it's an okay card.
Next one's Bane's Invoker. It's 1 and a white human cleric, 2/2. It has Windwalk, so it's an activated ability. You could pay 8, which is quite a bit. And it says up to 2 target creatures each gain +2/+2 and gain flying until end of turn. I would have liked this. Of course, it's always the mana cost, but I would have liked this if it was 8 for 2/2 counters, or sorry, 2 1/1 counters, right? And then you gain flying permanently. I think for that reason it's a bad card.
So last one for the whites, we got 4 and 1 white instant. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each opponent you're attacking. You exile target creature. Honestly, for the cost, but if you have tokens, it only costs you 1 mana to exile a target creature. And Commander with tokens, I think it's pretty good.
This feels like it should. This is too narrow. This only really works for if you were A, attacking, and B, attacking with a mirrored creature or tokens. But this doesn't really work with most things.
It's not going to be that great in sorry about the dog. It's not going to be that great in Modern. There's much better... Jeez, dog, you okay? There's much better removal. In Standard, if you're basing the deck around attacking, it's alright.
All right. Well, that wraps up all the white cards. Stay tuned, and then we'll go on to the next one.